You're in a
Hmm.
service industry. So if you haven't served yourself first and prioritized your self care, you're not going to be good at that for anybody else in your world.
Welcome to our last episode of 2024. I can't believe it. It's the end of the year, but we are very excited. We are going to be taking a little break, but we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. Suzanne's going to give us a little bit more of the details, and then we'll get into our regular episode.
Yeah, I say, I can't believe this is like our last episode of 2024. So actually, we'll be back after the holiday break for January 1st will be your next episode you can expect from us. And listening to all of you, you've actually shared that you're enjoying it, which is wonderful. We love the feedback. But sometimes you're not finishing what you're listening to and you're moving on to the next, or you're not keeping up with things. So we decided for the first quarter, we're going to start submitting or uploading new ones on the 1st and 15th of every month. And we'd love your feedback on that to let us know how's that working, because we're really doing this for you, the listener. It's not about us. We don't have egos about this. We just want to share. And so we'd love to hear that. So you can expect the 1st and 15th new episodes going forward for 2025.
Absolutely. And just for anyone who's new, like we've been doing every Wednesday. And like you said, that leaves left some of our listeners feeling like they just, it was one more thing that they had to add on to their list. So we're going into on the 1st and the 15th of every month. And we'll see how that is. So send us your feedback when you have it.
Mhm. Yeah, it wasn't negative in any way. It's just some people felt like they had to choose because they only had the 15 minutes at that time. So they're like, oh, which one do I want to watch? And then they're like, oh, but I got to get to that one too. And then we're uploading another one, right? So we thought we don't want this to be daunting. We want this to be informative and that you're enjoying and you have time to really listen and then give us your feedback.
Absolutely. We don't need another thing on our to-do list.
No kidding.
All right. Well, let's get on to today's topic. Today is, it's the end of the year. So this is published on December 18th. So we're just getting into the holiday break and stuff like that. So we thought this is a great time to reflect on our year as, the podcast, Beauty Babble, but also sharing tips on how our listeners can do the same. And we also we'll have a blog published as well on the Beauty Cult website for anyone who wanted to kind of go back and read more about it.
Mhm. Get the details there for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's something that I think we have to always, especially if you're a business owner, even if you're not, you are building your clientele if you're working for someone. So it's really good, even on a personal note, to reflect and recharge yourself, but on a professional as well. And finding that balance together, I think, as beauty professionals is really important. And sometimes they'll kind of blur lines, personal and professional, because they affect you. So I think if we
Mhm.
look back at the year to reflect and recharge and refocus yourself, you'll be ready for 2025. Because as we know, this is usually a peak time of year, but then it drops. So that's why we're doing this a bit early, just to remind you of some things you
Yeah.
can reflect on, right? So here's to a great end of the year. Find the positives in it, and let's look forward to the success of 2025. So, how do we reflect?
Well, I think let's use us as an example. So what we do, like we do this on a monthly basis, but we also do this on an annual basis and we look back every month and we see, how did which episodes have the more listeners, and then we kind of look for trends in terms of topics, like what's resonating, because that's what's important to us. Like you said, we wanted to put content out there that matters to our listeners. And we did that for the entire year and we pulled out like our top 3 episodes. We kind of analyzed trends in terms of like topics and length of the episodes. So, I think that's the positive, right? Looking what's working. What did we do that resonated and went well? And we both, I'll talk for myself. Like it felt good to see that positivity in that some of the episodes and topics. Like because we do this on a regular basis too. Like we had an idea of the topic, the trends or the topics that are working for us, and to see that they are doing well is,
Mm,
feels good. You go want to
we're
feel good.
listening. We're listening.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I mean, whatever our viewers are doing, like if you're a skincare specialist or if you do lashes, whatever it is, like looking back and seeing what were some of your wins for the year. Start with the wins.
Yeah, start with the wins. That's so important because I think it'll help you resonate to the why behind why are you doing this? And are you actually listening? Are you actually following through with what is? Because sometimes you might want to do something because you see it. Oh, I really want to do this, but your clients aren't resonating with it, or vice versa. You're not being you and you're trying to follow a trend and you're going, oh God, I hate doing this. It's going to resonate in the end for you. And so if you review and say, oh, that latest thing that was huge on TikTok, I tried it. What did I really get from this? It's like, yeah, you know what? I should have listened to my gut. It's not me. I'm not going to do this. And I think that's okay to see those things about yourself in this industry, right? So sometimes you can't be what the trend is. So, because you're not honoring who you are and to the why you're behind what you're doing is again, so you're looking at, did you grow the clients out of that idea? Did you, when you introduce that new service, what was the good and the bad for your clients and for yourself? So always looking at both sides, honestly, I think is really good.
Yeah. And I would
Yeah.
also look at like what services did you do most of and what did you do the least of?
Mhm, and
And
the why, and the why behind
yeah,
it.
and then
You
maybe
can't.
like if it's like those are more popular services, then maybe when you're making your plan for the next year, focusing on, maybe just focusing on advertising or marketing your more popular
Mhm,
services that resonate with
exactly.
your clients more.
Right. Yeah, and then the other is like when you really hone in on this, kind of like what we did was our feedback from our clients, what has stood out from
Hmm.
the whole year, like what's been consistently happening, or it could even be the other way, the one thing that client said and you're like, oh my God, I never thought about that, or I forgot that. Like, go back to those things and it'll help guide you into your 2025 to keep going forward with whichever it was. It's like, the trend of whatever came out that your client's like, oh, that sounds stupid, this yoga facial, or it's like, oh, okay, I hate to say that, but some people just don't get it, and that's okay. So, but it stood out. Maybe you're not doing it or you are doing it. Doesn't matter. It's just more of what did they say? I think is
Yeah.
what we've got to look at is the key of that, right?
I think you also mentioned something in the blog that you wrote that I liked, which is like looking at challenges in your schedule or your work life balance because maybe you took on another day of work and it was just a lot. Like, is that worth it? Like, looking at what worked and what didn't, because at the end of the day, yes, we all have bills to pay and we all need to, make money, but we also need to take care of ourselves and not be completely, what's that, burnt out,
Yeah.
right?
Or the
So,
vice versa. You took something on, like you decided to take not so many evening times with your clients. I mean, look at that side of it too, because you
that's
were
right.
trying to do, I don't know, be in a reading club or book club or a whatever it was that you changed. Like, how did it reflect you on that way too? Because
Yeah.
maybe it was good for you, but it affected your business side of things. It's not saying it's wrong. Review it and look at it. How badly actually did it really affect you?
Yeah.
Was it not a good financial decision for you? Maybe it was not as bad as you thought it was going to be. Maybe it was as bad and you didn't realize how much impact that financially had on your business. It's really looking at well, you want to celebrate your wins, but you also want to identify the areas for your growth, and that goes in personal and business, I guess you could say. Like you said, that I love that scheduling work life balance. Well, you schedule, right, Tareen? I
Mhm.
schedule.
Yeah.
And people might think, what do you mean? I said, I literally, like, even before we're like, let me put that in my calendar. I got to put that in. I got to schedule that in. It just helps. It's so much easier. You have less going on in your head. I don't wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh my God, I was supposed to do this for Doreen. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you put it in, it's done. And psychologically, or underneath that psychological aspect, have you ever woken up in the middle of the night going, why are you thinking about that for?
Mhm.
Had you taken it off the list, it's scheduled in, your brain automatically will say, done. Or you
Mhm.
go, oh, oh no, I got that scheduled. You'll remember and it's put away. Brain is an amazing thing, especially in the middle of the night.
I think that leads really well into like the second topic of like recharging because If you're constantly thinking about your to-do list or balancing your clients with your home life or whatever it is, you end up kind of draining yourself. You're more stressed. So finding ways that you can, I'm going to use the word streamline, but like what's going to work for you to make it easier on you to manage your life and your schedule. I use a calendar. Just use my phone calendar, like the Apple calendar, but I have a shared feature with my kids. I have one with my husband, and I put all the shared stuff in there. So it's like it's in there, it's in the calendar. I won't forget to talk about it because somebody's going to notice and be like, "Oh, what's this?" So we're all on the same
Right.
page. That really
Yeah.
helps me kind of one less thing that I have to constantly keep remembering and talking to somebody about or whatever. But there's other ways that you can recharge, right?
Right. Like that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You're in a
Mhm.
service industry. So if you haven't served yourself first and prioritized your self care, you're not going to be good at that for anybody else in your world,
Mm,
whether it's you personally, your clients, your family, your friends, whoever it may be. I think you got to look at, like, for example, you said it, scheduling, like setting boundaries is scheduling. Like
mhm,
you're scheduling in saying, okay, every day, 7 a.m. I'm going to do my breath work, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to exercise. I'm going to prep food for the day so I know I'm nourished properly. What all those things can be for you, or review your day. Maybe that's what you do every day because it's such a busy life. So nothing is wrong with that, and you become, it becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? Organized in a sense. So you're not having to think about your day. I've shared this in other podcasts when I had my business. I put my kids' agendas in there so I knew, like, literally, pick up at school is early, after school event, pick up later, like all these things because it's not in the norm, you know?
mhm.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
have to have an alarm go off to remind me because I knew I had a busy day and I'm like, I'm gonna lose track of time with
Oh,
this.
I do that too.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with that. But more people do that than you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
I think something too is like setting a schedule. Like if you're busy and you're sitting there doing lashes after lashes after lashes, get up and schedule yourself, half an hour. Because if you run over or talking to your client, you still have a little time, and go
Mhm.
outside. I know it can be cold, but take the stairs if it's nearby, or if you're in your home, take the stairs to the washroom or walk around your house a little bit, look outside, just take a break physically, mentally from what you're doing. I think it's important.
I
Um,
think on that note, I would say to take some time to write yourself a non-negotiable list of the
oh,
things that matter to you, right? Because
yeah.
maybe going outside is not the thing for somebody. It's sitting down with
Yeah.
a cup of tea, whatever it is. Like I think making yourself a list of these are the things that are important to me, and then figuring out how can I schedule those or how can I fit that into my day so that I can have some time for me. And even if it's like I said, 5, 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be a
Ooh.
production. It can just be a few minutes to yourself that you
Well,
just take.
actually, it comes to mind one time I was talking with Tara about this, and we kind of laughed together because I said, yeah, it's like if I've got 10 minutes, sometimes I like to do two in one. I'll lie on the floor, legs up the wall, yoga,
Mhm.
and then put my LED light on and listen to some music. And it just stops me from thinking. And
Mm.
it's that quick recharge, which helps me because I don't have hours in a day sometimes
Yep.
to do that. So I'm like, I got to find those wins, as small as they are. And it's such a big deal taking those moments to prioritize self care in the day. And if you've got to schedule in. Or there's times like, why didn't I think of doing that? Why did I just decide to go on Instagram? You know,
Yes,
that
yes.
type of stuff.
'Cause that's
Yeah.
a default, right? Like if you have your list of the things that you
I
enjoy,
love that.
those
Mhm,
can be your default too.
mhm, and it can be daily,
Yeah.
right? I think it's
Because it
really
can just be a few minutes, right? It doesn't, like I said, doesn't have to be something that takes half your day.
yeah. It's really
Uh,
about, like, rekindling that motivation, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that's what so many people have said to me. It's like, "I just don't feel motivated. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I just." Well, because you've given everything.
But that brings me to the other point of yours, connecting with your why, which I actually really love this because we forget. We forget.
Yes,
You're burnt out, you're tired. It's the end of the year. You've just been through the holiday season and you're just like, why am I doing this?
right? Or you don't feel like your clients appreciate you, or
Yeah.
you're not alone. Like,
Yeah.
just keep bringing it up and we'll tell you, yep, we've been hearing that.
Well, and it's not just the beauty industry. I think everybody feels that at some point in their year because we lose sight. We lose sight of what it is that we're doing because we're in the doing of it of the day to day.
Mhm.
So I think, you had put down like journaling about your purpose and your passion, rekindling like why you started. Because a lot of times we forget, like, did you start because you wanted to help people? If you're like a skincare specialist, maybe you had I had concerns with my skin when I was growing up. So that led me to my career. So you know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
what was it for you? And just reflect, like sit with that again and revisit that and remember your why.
And it could even be like, well, I didn't like my career. And my lash tech said, why don't you get into this? Nothing's wrong with just being honest that it doesn't have to be about you personally in a sense of physical or looking. It could even be that I hate my career. I needed a change. This seemed better. Right. So you look at those whys behind it.
It could be like it could have been, you wanted to have more control over your schedule. You didn't want to be a slave to the 9 to 5. That could
Right.
be why, like, whatever it is. I mean, they
Yeah.
don't have to like, yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And then on there, we want to talk about, okay, so you've gone through those, right? You're looking at you're reflecting, your recharge. Now it's like, okay, refocus. Okay, so plan ahead. Let's look at 2025. Keep it simple. I mean, how
Mhm.
many times do we have to say that, right?
Mhm.
Consider a couple things in your career, and this includes everything. So you don't want to just think about, like, for me, self-care is also learning. Like, I thrive from learning something new. That's just who
Mhm.
I am, though. It helps me. It could even just not even be part of the beauty industry. It could be something else. It could be nutrition, which is kind of in it. But I love learning something new. That's who I honor myself. Maybe I teach yoga, so maybe it's a new reflection of my yoga training, or it doesn't always have to be, is what I mean by that. When you focus 2025, try to hit your career, your personal aspect, your self-care, all of it. It's not just,
Yeah.
so set your goals basically. But I would still look at, what do you want to achieve next year? And on a
Mhm.
personal note, I think it's really important. And then your career, your business. Even if you're
Yeah.
working for someone else, you're still creating a clientele.
And keep it simple, I think too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I
Improve
have this
client retention. Okay,
like the
sure.
end of the year, we're always like, oh, I'm gonna do like just give yourself a break too.
And I
You know?
hit that improve client retention because everybody's saying that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, there's some people I know who are really busy, but that's what they focus on. So when their books go down, they're on top of their
Mhm.
hustle. Okay, so they find things that they can do to keep their books busy. They lose. We'll talk about lashes. This has been kind of across the board in Canada, anyways. Not sure our U.S. listeners can share with us or not, but some are taking their lashes off. They're not doing it anymore. So, and your whole business has been that. So, what are you doing now? So
Mm.
relook at and staying on top of things of what else can you offer. So maybe it's a new skill. Maybe you've always wanted to try something new and bring it forward. So
Yeah.
learn a new skill, bring
Yeah.
something refreshing, and it could be really simple. Like think of
Mm.
the self care, think of the holistic. Maybe it's changing your room environment,
Yeah.
or soft lighting, or the music. Get a new playlist. Like
Mm.
change. It could be that simple, right?
Yep.
And like I said, the updating your offerings, like a new something new. Don't go, I would avoid like doing a whole review of your menu. It could just be one thing so you're not overwhelmed. I've got this new service, this new treatment, this new whatever. That's what you're going to focus on. Keep it simple. And you can always grow from there.
Yeah. And I think it can also be the opposite of that in terms of you've looked back and you've reflected and you have a service that isn't booking very much, take it off your menu. Don't
Hmm.
offer that anymore. And that leaves you space to focus on the ones that are resonating with your
Hmm.
clients and the ones that you like to do.
Yeah. Like one of the things in the consulting side of the business is that some said, well, looking at the website, there's so many treatments. So many. It's like I go on there, I don't know which one to pick.
Yeah.
especially when
Simplify.
it comes to skincare, right? We kind of overdo it. So is
Yeah.
there another way? Oh, I have an idea. Chat GPT that. How can I change my menu into one description so then I can now take control on prescribing my client what they need? Like, how do you reword this out of all your offerings? Like, some have like 10 facials,
Yeah.
15. Like, you don't have to have all that. So sometimes it's just simplicity again. So again, it's that refresh, renew, revive kind of look, even on that side of it.
I agree 100%, especially with the facial thing. I think, just changing your description, like facial is customized to your skincare concerns, whatever they may be, because your client is not gonna, had people book for one thing and it's like, "Hey, no, you don't need that. Like you need this. This is what's actually going on." So,
Exactly. And that changes it because then you're like, you're all set up for this.
mhm,
And they're like, oh, I can't even do this because you're
yeah,
contraindication to this.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Another one too that I think that we need to address is investing in your education, understanding why, like if you're, for example, learning your product line or learning, what would be an example, like servicing and communication, like do something different just to recharge your brain on how to work with people and what types of personalities. That's a fun one.
Mm,
Types of personalities. And you're noticing in your treatment room, whatever service you have the same kind of people coming to you. Why don't you take a course on why is that? Why am I attracting that same kind of person? I think a
mhm.
lot of people do that in their dating world. Why am I keep attracting that kind of a person in my life? Well, this is the same in our clientele world, right? So sometimes that kind of reflects and will help you look at things. And it could be a good thing, doesn't mean a bad thing, but how come I'm having these amazing, I have some people have shared, they have amazing clients. Amazing. Have you ever thought about why? No, I never thought about why. Well, hone in on that a little bit more. It could even be as simple as that, right? But or you really want to understand. I get a lot of people saying sometimes, well, skincare, like I just find it overwhelming. Yes, yes. That's all I can say. It can
Yeah,
be very overwhelming. So what are some things you can do to keep on top of things? So I think educating is really good.
absolutely.
Being
Especially
open.
and thinking about January tends to be a little slower for a lot of folks in our industry. So that can be a time that you invest in
Learn.
yourself.
Yeah.
So to take advantage of the slower times.
Exactly. I think we kind of talked about this one too. Well, not to that specific, but streamline your operations, your workplace. So you're evaluating. Maybe it's your booking system hasn't been doing very well, not consistent, or you need to improve it. Remember
Mhm.
that it's the member experience that's really important. Your client experience, your product inventory. You should really be doing a check through your devices. What haven't you been using? What are you using a lot of? Do I need to
Yes.
update? Do I need to service it? Like, what do you need to do? Your product inventory. Oh my God, I haven't used this cream. Like, it's full, right? So then reevaluate your choices that you're doing and that
Yeah, that's a
strategy behind it, which could lead into the next one, your marketing strategies. Sure,
mhm.
they align with your goals. So that could be like where I'm always saddened to hear when someone has spent so much money on a device or products for that matter, whatever it may be, and they're not using it. It's like, oh, you spent like $5,000 on that. It's a lot
Yeah,
of money,
yeah.
or hearing the words of, well, I bought that machine, that device, and I'll never make my money out of it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how about flip that into something positive and go, okay, how can I do this?
Yeah.
There is a way. There is a way to do it. So try to get that negativity out and try to find a new approach
Mhm.
to it. I think is really important. So, I love the ending part, embrace the new year with confidence. And then really that's what this is all about, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think will kind of go through we're going to tell you about our top 3 episodes of 2024, and we are going to have a playlist on you.
That's the goal.
That's a goal on the Beauty Cult YouTube channel for the if you want to go check out those. But our number one episode of 2024 was episode 9, and it's the niacinamide episode, which our ingredient episodes are pretty popular. So if anyone has an ingredient they want us to dive into, let us know. And our second in second place, we have Exploring Holistic Wellness with Steph Steves, and that was episode 6. And Steph is a holistic practitioner. I would say she offers gua sha and buckle massage and hair brushing, very unique services, but super, super warm person and environment that she
Mm.
creates.
Well, she brings in that other side of it too about her own personal experiences,
Yeah,
right? Trauma and things like that.
that was a lot. Yeah, it
She's
was a great
realized
chat.
it was a great and
Yeah, yeah,
great.
check
Thanks
it
for
out
that
if
one,
you've got it.
Steph. Hmm.
And our in number 3, we have episode 32, which is Tedesco certification for estheticians. And we had guests on that episode
Yes,
as
we
well.
did. We had Vanessa come and speak about that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And so again, that is kind of just diving into the possibility of where you can take your career in the beauty industry, right? And that's one of my favorite things about this industry is that it's not linear. You can go in so many different directions and so many different
Mhm.
ways. You would not anticipate that you would end up in it. That Sedesco certification episode, we actually chatted, yeah, with Vanessa from the Aesthetic Institute Center. Yeah.
Yeah, that offer that program. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we love all our episodes equally.
Yes. This is just the biggest traction, biggest response. This is the
Yeah.
one that, again, like you shared at the beginning, we did our own evaluation because then we're excited to say, okay, what was it? What were the ones? And we love the fact that it kind of hit each topic was kind of what we were after all year anyways. So I love that it was like
Yeah.
three of the three things like that. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
mhm.
and we're always open for guests. We have in the show description, we have a form that you can fill out if you have questions or ideas. You can submit yourself as an idea to be a guest on the show as well.
Mhm. Excellent. Okay, well, that is it for our last episode of
Um,
2024.
Well, happy holidays and happy new year to all our listeners. We'll see you in 2025. Thanks for listening to Beauty Babble.